Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Phil Cobble Fine Homes and Land, located right on Kingston Pike in Knoxville. Phil and his team offer beautiful homes and fabulous land and lots all across East Tennessee. Since 1980, they have sold more than $300 million worth of properties. Properties like this beautiful home in the Fox Den area. You can call Phil this week. You saw his number. That is his number right there. You can give him a call this week, and he and his team will even provide you with a free pre-market evaluation of your home if you are looking to move or sell. Phil Cobble, Fine Homes and Land. All right, back with Jim, Bob, John, Gene. Want to talk about the next compelling story of the last 25 years, and Jim came up with the Phillip Fulmer era, which started controversially, the split between he and Majors. He takes over. Then you have the high highs with Manning coming here, the national championship, and then of course the decline at the end and the tearful goodbye, controversy in the way he departed. Jim, why is that one on there? You saw the beginning and the end of that.
I'll try to be serious about this a little bit. When I sort of contemplated what I was going to do professionally with my career in television and this opportunity to work for the Diocese of Knoxville, one of the things I look back at was what I had done, what I had covered here, and the era that I worked in. And I won the lottery. I mean, I came here in 1990. I had worked in East Tennessee prior, up in Kingsport, but came back to East Tennessee in 1990. My timing, my timing has never been good at anything, but my timing with my career here in Knoxville was impeccable on this one. I look back at something like Phillip Fulmer's head coaching career here. I'll never be able to cover anything as interesting as that. The way it started, the way it ended, all the events that happened in the middle. And John, one of the things, I mean, everyone's going to point out the wins and the losses, some of the upset wins. The one thing, not the only thing, but one of the things that stands out for me that will never, ever be replicated, I could stay here another 25, it'll never happen again, was when Phillip Fulmer went to Birmingham in 2004,
Right.
and his press conference was on a speakerphone, and
For fear of the subpoena.
exactly. And honest to goodness, I will never ever have an opportunity to cover something as crazy as that again. And I thought about that when I thought about my career, what I've done, what I might be able to continue to do here. I thought, well, I'll never get up to do that again. That'll never happen. It was as bizarre as anything I've been around.
I would agree with you, because right now, at the pace they're going, it doesn't look like anyone will last 16 years.
And that's all the big sports combined.
Yes, exactly. The Phillip Fulmer era. John, you were doing talk radio for all of that era. You lived it with the fans' ups and downs. Your thoughts on the whole arc? I mean, it is kind of soap operatic, if you will, the way it did have a character arc there.
Yeah, there were some people that Coach Fulmer was never able to pull all the way over the fence. It was interesting that even when they're winning the national championship, you've got some people that are finding things to pick at. And the fact that a couple of big in-state recruits had committed to Alabama, that was at the top of one list. So here they are winning a national championship, their first in 47 years, and that's what's at the top of some Tennessee fans' mind is, what about these kids they're losing to Alabama?
I think that's true. I think there were people who, and you had a split in this fan base, and I'm scared to death you're now going to have one over the Pearl thing. But for years in football, you had the Majors camp, and you had the Fulmer camp, and the Majors camp, I think a lot of those people were like, oh, great, won the championship, but I wish it was Johnny.
You know, it's funny, too, how long those memories are, because those Johnny fans out there, when Phillip got the axe at Tennessee, they came out pretty loud saying, serves him right. I mean, it was just, that's years later, and they still carry that problem with them.
You know, the thing about Coach Fulmer that sticks with me, and the media guys that saw him more, if he would have let his guard down, and you see the Phillip Fulmer personality away from the TV cameras that I've got to see several times, I think it would have turned out differently for him, because, and I've told you this, the times I've been around Coach Fulmer since he's no longer the coach at Tennessee, he is a funny, good guy to hang out with, and I think he was so guarded when he was out in front of people that you really just never quite were able to bridge that gap between really, really liking a guy. And I think he should have let his guard down, let people get to know him a little better.
I will say this: there on more than one occasion, he helped me out when I was in a pinch for a story, and I'll always be indebted to him. And it was strictly on a professional level, But I can remember a time, oddly enough, the final season, going to UCLA out there, and we had arrived at the team hotel. We were the only broadcast outlet, TV outlet at the team hotel when they arrived. We got there when the team arrived, but it was so chaotic, so hectic. Philip got up to his room before we could get an interview with him. Right. I asked if somebody could get him. He comes all the way back down, does the interview, and really helps me out that night for our coverage. So it was a crazy era with him at the helm. But I enjoyed every minute. He's yelled at me a couple of times. He's laughed with me a couple of times, and I enjoyed covering him. I really
Let
did.
me ask you guys, because you guys are the sports guys. There was the knock on Philip Fulmer, at least from the outside looking in as a non-sports media type, was that Philip could recruit some of the greatest players in the country, but as far as an X and O's coach, he was fairly average. And people would argue, it always took him till halftime to adjust, and then in the second half maybe they come through. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I think the recruiting good players is half the battle.
Yeah, I agree with
that.
that.
The thing is, you got to give him the credit for that. I mean, I think Nick Saban's an excellent coach, but Nick Saban is also a fantastic recruiter. If you gave Nick Saban what Butch Jones had last year, I don't know that. I mean, Nick Saban, when he first took over Alabama, went 6-6 and lost to Louisiana Monroe his first year. Right. So that was a knock on Fulmer. I look at it and say that recruiting's part of it, though. I mean, recruiting has to. I don't knock him off. I don't give him demerits for that.
No, I don't think you do either. And he had excellent assistant coaches with him. Right. Okay, if they didn't know how to adjust when they were at Tennessee, Cutcliffe and Chavis both know how to adjust now at LSU and Duke. So I think that's a little bit of a
Well, and you did see talent, and you did see talent drop off at the end, though. I mean, as usual, regardless of how good a coach you are, once the talent starts to go, that's the key. Got to get the talent. So I think that's a little unfair. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and the point Bob made about the assistant coaches, he not only had a knack for getting good players, but he had great assistant coaches. And you can see that even that period of time when David Cutcliffe was gone, he came back for those couple of years. There was a bit of a resurrection there with their team. Yeah.
All righty. When we come back, when I was talking to Jim and he zipped me over the stories he wanted to talk about, he referred to the next one as a Greek tragedy. Bruce Pearl era. We'll talk about that. Come on back on the Sports Source.